a really involved pastor. He's a great dude, and he's been advocating for his community in a lot of different ways, as a school board member, as a pastor, as an activist, as a guy that gets around town and works with the people. I mean, I knew Corey when he was filming cops and putting it out there that the cops were harassing people. So we've known each other for a while, Corey, but we haven't talked in a while because you're such a friggin' busy dude. Right. I don't know if you know, but we're national now. This ain't just like a little New Jersey thing, man. Like, we're really out there. We got an audience from coast to coast. And I feel like I'm introducing, the comrades that brought us here to this point to the wider world. So, I thank you for being a part of what was New Jersey Revolution Radio, but is now Revolution Radio. Thanks for coming back. But let's take a minute to let people know who Pastor Corey Teague is, and give us an idea of your history, because you've done so much. I don't want to highlight what I know about, because that's like the tip of the iceberg, man.
Indeed. Well, it's certainly an honor to be back. I was around when New Jersey Revolution Radio was in its, well, I guess you could say infancy stages, where it was just kind of wrapping up its.
Oh, we were a baby, little baby. Yep.
And you guys came to Patterson. That's how we met. You guys actually came to Patterson when you actually had people in Patterson who didn't want to come to Patterson for the rallies. And you guys came up from, is it South Jersey, or it's not that far down?
At that time, I was living in Woodbridge, but we even had people came in from all over, from who were connected with Rev Rat. We organized with you guys, and I was proud to be a part of it. I still am proud to be a part of it, man.
Absolutely.
Teague is still on the show. We never forget. We never forget.
Absolutely. So but I've been actually an activist in Patterson for maybe 20 years, maybe 21 years. Honestly, and I've always had a heart for the downtrodden and those who get a raw deal, to put it bluntly. And I've always been the guy to speak up for them, And the latest battle that we're facing now is with the county jail. And there's some movement. There's actually faster movement in this particular situation than it was in Jameek's case. So the county sheriff's department, the union, one of the union reps reached out to me today, and there's been some movement. Some progressive movement in terms of making sure they have, what they need in their cell. You know what I'm saying? Oftentimes we forget about people who are locked away, and I think we got to make sure that we treat all humanity, humanly. That's my biggest thing.
We have a lot of work to do in that regard, and
yes.
I know I'm preaching to the choir here, definitely, but in particular, with your experiences with the police, and why I know you're the real deal is because Indeed. Before you ran for school board, before you were, I know you've been politically involved, but before you had some of these positions, you were filming police. You were on your streams and saying, listen, look at what these cops are doing. They're beating people up. They're criminals. They're acting like you're straight up calling the cops in your town that you have to live in and walk the streets every day in a town where, you can look up his hometown of Patterson, New Jersey.
That's right.
Look, it is what it is, man. It's not a game. And you were taking those risks.
That's right.
Do you find now today that you have, more political influence, a little bit more stature, as an elected member, you get that? Yes. Are you getting along better with the police? Are you able to influence them better? Have you changed a little bit because you're now on the inside, or are you still going head to head with the pigs?
I get, people pull on my coattail a lot still, because, I haven't known to just, get down in the meetings and, but I will say as different from before, if I post something now, I do get a phone call. How can we straighten it out? Where in the past, it wasn't like that.
Right.
Now, when I bring attention to something, I usually get a phone call. Somebody see me in the street, they'll pull over, try to see if there's a way they can work it out. Because, my position has gotten a lot larger in terms of the community aspect. Because I want folks to understand, I ran as a Green Party candidate in November 2019. And I didn't have much money. These folks were running with $10,000, $20,000, $25,000, war chests for a school board, for a volunteer position. And I just ran with the people. That was it. I ran with the Green Party, and we were the top vote getter. Let me say that too. Out the big ones from the quote unquote major parties, you know, and that's something that should be noted, that the people have the power, you know.
Absolutely. And yeah, you did run with the Green Party, prominent. I mean, and you're a guy, and I think we talked, and you're one of the people, and not the only person that's ever told me this, is that I don't really care about the party so much as I need the support, and I want to work with good people. I just listen. If you're going to support me and I'm doing good work, then I need that support. Yeah, I don't hang out with the Green Party as much as I used to, but that's a whole nother story. But your story was really great because I honestly felt like it was a privilege to have you attach yourself to the party, and it seems vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the things when looking at the Green Party on a national level, I think they just need to do more of that. People from the community coming out and saying, listen, I want to run with you guys, and I've already got this community support and I'm accepted. But that's on the party to prove to more community activists that they're, we're the party worth running with. And it was an interesting time, man. And I really liked being a little involved with your campaign. We came up to the fundraiser and all that. And you're running again, right? I think, before we talk about a little bit of your activist work, I'll let you plug your campaign, which we rarely do here on Revolution.
Okay.
But because you're such a great dude, man. I mean, you're running again for school board, man, or what are you trying to do now?
I'm actually running for city council at large.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Yep. So we're
pissed. They're
a little deeper now.
They're pissed.
Yep.
You're not standing your lane, man.
Yeah. we're moving in.
At large position. Tell me about the city council. Now, on Patterson City Council, it's Faulkner Act town, 9 city council members.
Yes.
Okay. So 9 city council members, and if you want to know how it works, you look at the Faulkner Act. Everybody figure that out.
Right.
And you're up for re-election. Are you running as a Democrat, as a Green, as an independent? Have you picked a party? What are you going with an affiliation?
I haven't picked a party, but most likely to be independent because people are tired of both parties at this point. I walked up to people not recently who I just overheard them. They were saying this all the parties, and the big parties, the 2 major parties that everyone claims are the major parties. They're tired of both of them. So I want to run because if you run under a certain umbrella in either one of those 2 parties, they'll feel like you owe them something. The party bosses, those 2 major, And I've had Democrats, I've had Republicans come to me and try to get me either on either or. And I really told them I want to be able to be the voice for people that are undecided on which party they want to go with, And so either say, and then to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind going Green again, pushing Green or pushing independent. If you're a Green Party, and you have a lot of people who vote Green, but they're not registered. They're not really registered Green. I've seen people do that. And they vote independently. They want to vote for the write-in candidate because they don't like any of the other options. So we're trying to change that so they don't have to keep voting for write-in candidates. We have candidates that you can rely on.
There's been some electoral reform talk in New Jersey, and like getting these lines and stuff. And for our national audience, a good book to read, it would be The Soprano State. Which I really got to reread it. I think I read it back in the day when it first came out. I've forgotten most of it, but I do remember it having an impact on me as, that can't be real. But good read. I saw a little more of it in the coming years, and it's right. It's right. Corey, I know you're with some comrades today, and so I want to make sure we get a chance to talk about your current work, which is always the most important for our activists out there. So. What are you into today? I know you're sitting with some people that have some serious issues. Yes. What's going on over there in Patterson?
Today we are still in our mission of making sure that the inmates at Passaic County Jail on Marshall Street are receiving proper care, in the midst of this pandemic. There were a lot of issues that I was not made aware of until recently. And when I spoke to several family members and they made me aware, and there's still people inboxing me. It was unbelievable, the situation that's happening in the county. I mean, the union rep does tell me that they're much better than they were in the past. But we need to make sure that the inmates also have what they need to make sure they're okay in there. Whether it's the blankets, man, make sure that they have enough heat in there, hot water. You got to make sure they at least have the human rights. That's the problem. That's why I keep saying this is really a human rights issue. When you deny anybody food or water, or you know what I mean, or the necessities that they need to
Mm-hmm.
survive every day. So that's really what we've been
Mm-hmm.
pushing, and that's hit a soft spot for a lot of political areas because nobody really wants to delve into, oh well, they're in the county, and but if you technically look at it, they were charged, but they didn't go to trial yet. They're just sitting there. So if you really want to be technical, they're just saying they haven't been formally convicted yet. But regardless, there needs to be some more measures in place, for inmates to make sure that they have, even if it's just the basic things, to make sure that they can function. Because that whole system is corrupt. The whole prison system is corrupt. And like I said, it's hitting a soft spot
Oh, and
that we have to tackle.
yeah, it is. I was watching. I happen to flip on the C-SPAN every once in a while. Now that I live in the middle of nowhere, I am forced to learn things from different sources. I've tried to avoid the cable news traps and stuff like that. So I watch C-SPAN, so I kind of get that unfiltered what our government is doing look. And for those of you that are not following these things, there's a bill going through Congress named after George Floyd. And it involves a lot of police reform. And I don't know if you're familiar with this, Pastor Corey, but it takes one of the biggest things is it takes away the exception for police officers to be sued. I can't remember the legal term off the top of my head. I should have wrote it down, but it takes off this exception that police are special people for some reason, not accountable for their own actions. So,
Right.
And sitting there, and you're talking about, look, these deprived conditions that human beings are put in sometimes, and most of the time their crime is being poor. Let's face it, that's what it is, poor or being on drugs, which is just a medical condition, and you should bring them to the doctor. But what I saw was a lot of mostly Republican. It was divided somewhat along party lines, but mostly Republicans defending the current system, advocating for more money going into the current system, praising law enforcement as honorable and noble people who've never done anything wrong, apparently. They're maybe noted that all of them were white people. So, when you deal with this system, you have to deal with that pushback from the white supremacy that's out there, right?
Of course.
What do you see now? That's on the macro level.
Right.
I talk about New Jersey, and I say on the micro level, though, you're going to get pushed back. What are you pushing back against? Who are you fighting that you have to convince that human beings need decent meals and some exercise?
Right. One of the biggest glaring issues with the prison system in this country is that it's predominantly occupied by Black and brown, men, and in many instances, I think that is a driving force for them to say, let's treat them like animals, or let's make sure they don't even have the bare essentials. You wouldn't see this if you had a prison with predominantly upper echelon, Caucasian inmates. You wouldn't see the type of deplorable conditions that you see in places where we are, where most of the people who look like us. You know what I'm saying? And I still say you're Black, man. You're more of a Black man to me, man. That's what I've always said. But I mean, honestly, it's most that's in there, and that's why I fight so hard, because I know if it was the other way around, it wouldn't be that way. It really would not be that way. But because most of us are there, a lot of times that's where they turn that blind eye. Where Black people are inherently violent, and a lot of it, like you said, has to do with the conditions that surround them: poverty, lack of employment, lack of education, or low quality education. Which in the urban communities, the fight is on with this virtual learning, and there's so much that's stacked against communities of color that it should push anybody who's elected official and who's an elected official of color to fight hard to make sure that there's reforms in place to make sure people get fair treatment when they're in there. They've already been judged. One officer who didn't
Yeah.
want to be mentioned said, they've already been judged. When they got there, they were already judged. It's not, the officers shouldn't judge them. They should try to be there to make sure while they're there that they have the things that they need. If you're going to punish them if they do something wrong, why don't you make sure they're okay if they're doing right? You know.
It doesn't help this. The bottom line, I mean, just talking from the human standpoint, like there's this, I think well, first off, the prison system in this country is just an extension of the slavery system.
Indeed.
It's what we can get away with today to keep people in bondage based on the color of their skin. So let's the reason why they're starving people, the reason why they're not giving you education, the reason why they're not is because it's white supremacy and it's Jim Crow and it's whatever we can get away with today to maintain it. That's what I want people to recognize. We're pushing up against that. We were back here on Revolution Radio, and we're talking with Pastor Corey L. Teague out of Patterson, New Jersey, community activist, Northern New Jersey. So justice for Jameek. I know that that was, we touched on it a little bit, but I do want to make sure we follow up on it. There was a lawsuit filed, and that was kind of the last that I've seen in the media regarding that. Are you still in touch with the family? And where are they at as far as their legal proceedings, I guess, is what I want to know first.
Right now, I know I speak to the mother every now and then, but I don't really know if they're pursuing a lawsuit at this point. I'm not really sure what might have happened within the family. There was a lot of different stories that surfaced, but I didn't want to, put anything out because it could have all been rumors.
Right.
But I mean, I know sometimes I will share his picture and I will hashtag, justice for Jameek, or we still want, answers, because we really, as a community, we didn't really get any answers about that. It kind of got, pushed under the rug. And there's times when I'll still bring it up and, people will jump on and they'll say, yeah, we want to know what happened with him. And a lot of people in Patterson and around the world are still frustrated with that still didn't get the attention that it really deserved, And
no, it didn't.
It's like Emmett Till, the same situation. They're still fighting for him, for justice for him all these years later.
Crazy. And a lot of effort went into that. And essentially what we're looking at is the police getting away with murder.
Yeah.
We were talking on the editorial board a little bit about like, how do we grow as independent media, right? How do we get stories out there, and how do we get this word out to more people? Right. And one of the things was like, if you put a story out there and then people will pick up, other larger outlets will pick up on it. And there's been a couple of stories on Revolution Radio that were broken here that I feel like, and justice for Jameek is probably number one, where like, I'm like, why didn't this turn into, I know CNN did like one report, but that's all that really went out there. There wasn't like a sustained media or establishment push for you, which you really need when you're going up against like a powerful city council, like you were doing, and the police department and their union and all that. So people know. I mean, there were other police officers arrested and charged on a lot of other things. The last I saw was like 9 police officers indicted on federal charges. Right. So I know there was investigations and stuff, but I'll tell you that I still support you guys, and I still support the family, and I think wherever the family's at, I think is what's important. That they, that they're at peace with whatever's going on, and I'll pray for them. That's all we can do, I guess, sometimes, right?
Absolutely. That's kind of the position I took, because if you dwell on it too much, it'll drive you crazy, because in your heart you want to know what happened. Who's responsible.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I can't legally, overstep the family. I can't go any further than
absolutely.
So in the back of my mind, like you said, I just pray for the family and pray that somehow something comes up or out that they can get the justice that they deserve and that Jameek deserves.
Yeah, and before we go, the one aspect of your life that maybe we haven't touched on is one that you put forward quite a bit, and that's your faith. Yes. Do you consider, I don't want to introduce you as such, but do you consider yourself a faith-based activist? Is that a term that you apply to yourself?
Well, I always like to consider myself an activist who likes to provide evidence, Faith is good. We got to have faith, but at some point we need to have some evidence to back up what we believe, or what we believe to be right. So as an activist, I try to take that belief and make sure I can provide some factual information so it doesn't become, strenuous. Just say, okay, I believe this, but can you prove it? No, I can't prove it. I just believe it. We got to get out of that state and get to a place where we're knowing, so that we don't have to really believe. We already know what it is. You know what I mean? So like, we know today is March. We don't have to, even if we don't believe it, it's March. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to do. I try to bring the knowledge into it so that we can know what we're doing and not just merely believe in it.
What is faith play in your life then, as far as like, so I get that, what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's yeah. I know you're a pastor, right? You preach weekly?
Yes, weekly. Yes. Either it's online, or sometimes I'll go to different locations where they have smaller gatherings due to, COVID-19 restrictions. And sometimes I record. See, that's the difference when you're actually at a church building. It's more of a public place, so it's easier to record. When you're going like, house to house, how a lot of people don't want their living room on camera. So
right.
A lot of times I'll go to their house and we'll have the service there, or, and it won't be recorded. But, I have to respect the, the wishes of where I'm at the moment. Yep.
Man, that's an interest. How do you, let me ask you this. Do you sleep?
Say again?
Do you sleep?
Oh, do I sleep? Rarely.
Yeah.
Rarely. That happens. That's an event. My daughter's been known to write letters saying sleep on my pillow and text me and say, Dad, have you slept yet? So, and I'll say, wait a minute, I didn't even get to sleep today. And I'll lay down and take a nap.
We all that know you and love you and hung out with you, man, we all root for you and your good health. That's for sure. And absolutely. I know, people have asked me that same question, like, when do you sleep? And my standard answer is every couple of hours at random increments of 15 minutes, like everybody else. Like, so we do what we got to do, but and I know that you got to take care of yourself because it takes a toll. But you're certainly an inspiration. I know that you and your community and all the people that you work with in Patterson, all the people that I met while I was down there and living in the area, was just I think about you constantly. I know that. I pray for you. I pray for the Lowry family in that area. I know that you are making a difference. And I'm really glad, man. Listen, you know me, I'm not a big fan of any of the parties anymore. Right. But I know I'm rooting for you, brother. So thanks for everything you've done. Before I let you go, make sure that you've told us how to get in touch with you, what you're working on, website plugs, where we can give you money at, how can we support Pastor Corey?
All right. Right now, if you'd like to give any kind of donations, you can use. I am using the Cash App right now, and that's $. Corey L. Teague. You can definitely send it there right now. And if you'd like to reach out to me, Corey Lewis Teague, on Facebook, on Instagram, it's Dr. Teague on Instagram. And let's get it on. Let's get the word out. And if you need to reach out to me, my number is 973-767-5980. Okay, 973-767-5980. You can reach out to me. If I don't pick up right away, I will definitely get the message and return your call. So
yes, you will. You returned my call. My call.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Corey, thanks a lot, man. Solidarity, and I'll talk to you real soon. We can't make it so long next time. All right,
exactly.
Brother?
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Take care, man. Peace out.
Yep.
All right. So thanks a lot for everybody tuning in.